Welcome to the Turing Time Warp. I'm turinghacker, and we're going all the way back to the mid-90s. Back when I was incredibly young, 5, 6 years old, somewhere in that range. I was absolutely obsessed with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yes, this is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Sega Genesis. Oh, I played this game a lot when I was young because it was one of my first games ever. No, I don't think it was my first game, but I definitely played it as one of my first games. And I'll tell you, I was not good at this game. I know my mom has told me repeatedly that she used to watch me play the game, and I would cry because I would lose, and she'd have to take it away, and then when she wasn't looking, I would sneak back to it and try to play again. Yes. So this is Rita Repulsa, that's the main villain of the thing, and we are the Power Rangers, the collective Power Rangers. We can pick anyone we want. Jason, Kimberly, Billy, Trini, or Zach. Let's go with Jason. I think I usually liked him the best out of these ones. Yes, so he's the Red Ranger, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, I believe. Yeah, it's a fighting game! Was not good at fighting games. So that was a thing. But I'm hoping that I actually learned a little bit now that I'm older. I think what I always used to have problems with is I would do a lot of close quarters combat, just way up close like this. Which, from watching the videos, they had kind of like an arcade type, where it would just auto battle kind of thing. It doesn't look like that's what you really want to do. Maybe I'm incorrect on that. But it looks more like you want to kind of rush in whenever you have a chance. The combos in this game are incredibly difficult to pull off. The direction controls are very, very, not great. So, this doesn't look good. I mean, having a ranged attack's great, but, yeah, didn't do so well in that one. So, that happens. But, yeah, well. Oh my gosh, why are they in hell? Okay, one thing I did learn is to read the manual. That was one thing I never did when I was a kid. And I found out that the Black Ranger has much easier to pull off combos. They actually tell you the combos in the book. It's amazing. But one of his combos, which I'm going to use in a second, is basically the game on easy mode. It's just keep mashing the button. It does lots of damage. So yeah, Power Rangers is kind of a weird thing. I know it's come back recently, but yeah. So essentially, it's the story of a bunch of teenagers who meet a robot and a big dude in a tube who give them magical coins that allow them to summon spandex and helmets and fight evil monsters. And then after they beat up the evil monsters on foot, Rita Repulsa, the evil witch-looking lady, ends up throwing her staff down, which causes them to grow, which makes them have to summon their Zords. It's kind of just a Monster of the Week, fighter type thing, for quite a while. But then, yeah, there's lots of, with the Zords. The Zords all combine, similar to, I know another show that did it was Voltron. I never actually watched Voltron. This was my show of choice as a child. Especially for anything giant monster related. Never was really into like Godzilla or anything. This is pretty much what I did. The Zord fights were always neat. I mean, it was, it was still a guy in a suit, but it was really neat to see all the different Zords go together and whatnot. But yeah, I have a lot of memories of playing this game and not getting incredibly far. Never read the manual, I'm fairly certain. And then they'd pull out the sword and summon lightning down somehow, and that's how they would just destroy the monsters. But anyhow, after a bunch of different monster fights with Rita, she ended up deciding that the only way to beat them was to get her own Power Ranger. So, yeah, we're gonna fight him. So she created the Green Ranger. She basically gave him his own little magic coin, and he had pretty much the same, but usually better powers than all the rest of the Rangers, so that was neat. And he was originally the, main bad guy. I mean, she obviously was the main bad guy, but, ow. The first real returning, monster that they fight a lot was, named Goldar. And we haven't fought him yet, which is surprising to me, but after him, the Green Ranger kind of became the returning bad guy kind of most of the time for a while. Come on. Oh. Yeah, this game is still rough. I mean, it's hard. And I know I did see where you can change difficulties, but it's just a rough fighter. And I never was good at fight. I mean, this was my first exposure to fighting games, so obviously, it was incredibly difficult for me because I'd never had this sort of game before. He's so fast. He's actually a lot faster than any of the other Rangers, it seems. Okay, as I say, is he gonna stop me at some point? Yeah, why I say the Black Ranger's a lot easier is because he has the axe attack, which basically you just mash a button. It's very easy to pull off. You could pull it off, and you do just tons of damage with it. It just keeps going. There we go. Finally got him down. But yeah, the Green Ranger, took him a long time to finally figure out who it was. Then, shocker, it's the new kid at school. Or maybe he wasn't new. I don't remember. But he had his Dragon Zord. He always summoned it with this dagger that he always carried. And it was the most awesome thing ever as, a 5-year-old. But yeah, he's the Green Ranger. This is his Dragon Zord, and it was pretty awesome. And, of course you had to compare it to the standard Megazord, which was the one that we pilot. Of course, that being made up of lots of smaller Zords was a bit of a difference, but... Oh, and according to the manual, he's even more OP than... Not the Dragon Zord, I have no idea, but at least by his moves, the Green Ranger appears to be even more overpowered than the Black Ranger, so... Yeah, actually the Dragon Zord is pretty easy to beat. The Zord fights in here are actually pretty easy. You just kind of keep using the strong attack, and then just run and hit the... There we go. This was the... They finally figure out he's Tommy. They kind of bro out for a little while. They kind of knock him over. Comes back to his senses and decides that he's gonna join them. Then it kind of turns into a teenage soap opera, pretty much. I mean... then now we can play as him, which is awesome because he's tons and tons and tons better. He actually has... Everyone else has 3 different moves. He has 4. And one of them is... let's see. Let's see if I can... Oh, yeah, there we go. You just hold B for 2 seconds. A lot of... Oh yeah, and that's just mash buttons. Mash buttons and you get the lightning. It really makes this game pretty easy to beat. So, yeah, looking back, it's not as difficult of a fighter as it really should have been. Or as I made it out to be, but then again, I didn't know, I never read the manual, because who reads the manual? Except for, old people, like... people that, don't know how to play video games, even though I really didn't. Maybe people who know how to play video games. That would have been the same intro. This has to be one of the weirder... Yeah, I never knew any of the combos in this game, because like I said, I never actually learned... Because I never actually read the manual, they never tell you in-game. They, tell you what the buttons mean, but they don't tell you what combination to press them in. Like, this one's a weak attack, this one's a strong attack. But yeah, that's Power Rangers. And like I said, once Tommy came in, ended up getting kind of a really crazy, complicated plot. Let's see. Rita ended up being able to control him or something, and he kind of became evil again. There's Goldar. Maybe he came after the Green Ranger's already there. I don't remember exactly. But anyhow, she ended up controlling him at some point, which made him, evil, and then, no one trusted him. And then they're trying to decide if he was actually even really good. And then he he was under her control, then they snapped him out of it. They kept debating whether he's actually really on their side or not. Goldar, I believe, is, one of the best fighters in this game from playing two-player. Way back long ago. Probably in, 97 or 98. He's just so fast. But, eventually they ended up coming back with this candle or something that made him evil again, or drained his powers, and stuff happened, and eventually he turned into the White Ranger. That was the only way to give him back his powers. So it was an interesting plot. Very complex. I don't think I grasped most of it when I was young, but after he became the White Ranger, it was kind of Monster of the Week kind of thing again, until... Long ago and far away, a legendary interdimensional being known as Zordon came to the city of Angel Grove to establish a vanguard in the never-ending struggle against evil. With the aid of his trusted assistant Alpha 5, the noble master sought out 6 extraordinary teenagers and gave them the power to transform into superhuman fighting force. In time of great need, the young heroes now call upon colossal assault weapons known as Zords. While the identity of the 6 remain a guarded secret, their courageous exploits soon became stuff of legend, earning them the title. That's right, this was another game that they made. A higher quality game, actually, in terms of intro, at least. When they made Power Rangers the movie. That's right, there was more than one of these games, because they created a Power Rangers movie. 6,000. Yeah, we did that. Anyhow, Ivan Ooze ends up being the bad guy in this. Rita Repulsa at one point got replaced by... see, there, he's a White Ranger. And of course, I will always play as him. But Rita Repulsa kind of went into cahoots with this other guy named Zed, I believe? I think that was how you say his name. But... So yeah, this one's a side-scrolling beat-em-up. A little different, but it was actually quite a bit better to play in terms of controls. I mean, this one definitely has actual combos and whatnot. Maybe that's just, the style of gameplay being different, but... you can pretty easily do a lot of the things in this game as opposed to the fighting game. I thought that one had kind of squishy controls a little bit looking at it. Yeah, these were... Ivan Ooze ends up being like the kind of throwaway bad guy in the movie. And, you know, obviously they beat him in the end. Spoilers! And everything goes back to normal. They never mention him again, etc., etc. I remember doing this a lot, and I believe it's like... They pretty much can't hit you if you're doing this. Which kind of makes it a little... It's kind of one of those moves that's a little broken. Wow, I'm really draining health. Dang. But yeah, it's not by any means a revolutionary... Oh, there we go. I was gonna say, do we ever get life restored? It's by no means a revolutionary side-scrolling beat-em-up. I don't think there's even any like weapons you pick up off the street or anything. But, you know, if you went and saw the movie, if you watched the series, I mean, it was... You played this. Because, did you see that opening? You gotta watch... I mean, the opening theme was completely, like, remastered, and the production qualities were higher in the movie than they were in the actual day-to-day show. The day-to-day show did not have good quality acting, effects. They actually used the footage from another show, a Japanese show, Sega Rangers, something like that. I don't remember exactly the name, but it's, yeah, basically all the martial arts was from a completely different show, and all the kind of in-between portions where, you know, they don't have helmets and whatnot on, that was all shot just for the show, which always was kind of obvious. But the actual, there we go, I can actually jump attack. But yeah, the actual show itself, other than... there's Ivan Ooze. Can't do anything there. I believe I actually do remember getting to the end of the fighting game at one point. I know I've gotten to the end of this game before. Ivan Ooze basically destroys the little area that Alpha 5 and Zordon inhabited, the command center, or whatever it was called. This game's actually pretty short. There's only 4 stages, and we've already beaten one. Yes, this had the really annoying cars. See, I remember playing this with friends. I never remember playing the other one with friends. I think I was too young. But by this point, I did have friends that would come over, and we played this together, and it was fun. I mean, you could make progress in it. It was fairly, you know, it's basically you mash buttons and hit different directions for a few different things, but there's not really any special moves or anything, so it's not like a fighting game, which was perfect for me when I was younger. It's just perfect for me right now. Heck, I'm doing a lot better in this one than I was in the last one. Shouldn't have picked that up, actually. But yeah, you could actually play 2-player, and it was kind of like Streets of Rage or something like that, where, you know, you were working together. I think your most damaging attacks, the just mashing B a lot. Yeah, see, there you go. But, yeah, the movie was, eh. I mean, even at the time, you know, it didn't have the, like, normal actual villains from the show, because, you know, it had to be kind of its own standalone thing where you didn't have to go see it. Couldn't affect the series too many ways, but at the same time, you know, you had to have some bad guy, but it just kind of turned the... I mean, the main bad guys were in it. That was the weird thing. But at the same time, they didn't do anything. I think he, like, takes them out to, like, locks them up or something. So they just kind of stand on the sideline the whole time. I think, like, a couple times they tell him, you know, oh, you're crazy to try to take them on. I'm not doing well at the moment. Say, I could really use some health right about now. Uh-oh. You do have that as a last resort projectile attack. The auto-throwing's kind of bizarre. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where you just throw people when, you know, whatever. Okay, that's... Okay, so we do get some continue. I guess there's some credits and whatnot. It's a lot like an arcade machine, I mean... Except I don't feed quarters in, of course. So, it's a simple game, but it came from a very simple show. I mean, other than the plot, which got rather dense, and I don't even want to pretend that I understood it when I was young. It was only, like, thinking back on the show that I actually realized, wow, there was a lot going on. And when was that even? Probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I just happened to get... No, I think it was just a year or two ago. I had a bunch of Power Ranger toys, like a ton, because that was their main thing, so... But I was bringing them here to my house, from my parents' house, and I was like looking at the toys and I was remembering all the different things that happened in that show, and I'm like, wow, a lot went on in that show. And that was the part I was talking about was only like the first or second season. I mean, just a lot of stuff happened in just a very short amount of time, because I imagine the episodes were very cheap to make, so there's not a lot you know, their special effects for when something big happened was like they'd shake the camera and kind of go, whoa, you know, earthquake. So not the greatest of you know, it's very much the 90s cheese that everyone, you know, always kind of hints at, that is usually it's from people that are earlier, were born earlier than the 90s, but it definitely existed in this. I don't know if it was even necessarily the 90s to it. I mean, there was definitely 90s all over this show. I mean, they did stuff like skateboarding and, you know, skydiving and stuff like that, because it was cool, but it was just, the show was low budget, and it showed. But showed lots of shows because, yeah, they just moved lots of toys because, you know, you just introduced a new villain, introduced a new Zord, introduced a new Power Ranger. It was just really easy. Come up with a convoluted reason why they were there, and, you know, pretty simple, just, oh, now we're gonna make new toys. And you're gonna buy them because, you know, the show changed. Uh-oh. I'm almost out of time. I actually don't know what happens when you're out of time in this one. Oh, never mind. And some of these portions just go on for a while, not really doing all that much. I think the entire game's somewhere around like an hour or two long. If that. Maybe not even that long. But yeah, it's kind of like all the licensed games. Just it was a tie-in. So just copy a game that already exists and put some, you know, familiar characters in, try to make it somewhat easy for the children so they don't rip their heads out. Yeah, rip their heads out. Wow, that's dark. Sorry, rip their hair out. We need a hero. It's the thing. Oh, yes. Wow, that strobe effect is crazy. I forgot. This did have Zord battles. And these actually got pretty insane. Yeah, so basically in this game in the movie they ended up losing their Zords, losing their powers, and then they have to go to like a different planet, and that's where they ended up finding new coins, I believe it was, that turned them into like ninjas, yet they were still with the same helmets and spandex, so only kind of. Yeah, it was a very strange movie, and everything always had to have ooze. And everything in the 90s had ooze. You had the Ninja Turtles with the ooze. You had the Power Rangers with the ooze. Because Ivan Ooze, you know, I think he was kind of like a Captain Planet villain. You know, he was distributing poison or something in the form of ooze to take over the world by making people, I don't know, I don't remember if it was pollute or what exactly, but something like that. Really, the best part about the show, other than, you know, of course, the toys, was probably the song. That song is pretty phenomenal. It, you know, has all these guitar riffs and whatnot in it. It's very high energy. It's kind of no shocker that more or less that's what the whole game just keeps using as a background noise. It's a little like drawn out and whatnot, but I imagine it would get very, very repetitive if you played it for long periods of time, which I'm sure I did. But I'm sure I didn't even care. Because, you know, it was Power Rangers. Had to have it. Had to go to Toys R Us and get them toys. I remember playing this a lot with my mom, actually. And like a good mom, she just put up with it. It was, you know, corny and terrible, and she knew that. I mean, you know, people are like, oh, it's, you know, from way back and they didn't know any better. No, my mom knew it. Hell, I'm pretty sure even I knew it to some extent. And I know once I got older, I definitely knew it. Like, not way older, but just a little older. Basically, as soon as the Power Rangers passed on to the next batch of them, yeah, they actually had to do, like, the whole, you know, soap opera type thing where now we have completely different characters. And because of this and that reason, and I mean, there was a lot of soap opera-y type stuff, but I'm pretty sure at that point I started figuring it out that, oh, this show's really kind of poor. Yeah, there we go. Rocky? I don't remember who that is. Aisha. Nope. Adam? Yeah, I think they, like, swapped out 3 of them or something. And then you had the moon base. That, I believe, was where Rita and Zed lived. Oh, there we go. The Green Ranger losing his morphing powers. Except we were already playing as the White Ranger. Oh, this game. Why? Seems like a time of darkness is about to come. So, what did... As Tommy's Green Ranger power faded, Zora transformed him into the stronger White Ranger. Just, done. Yeah, so that was the thing. I like how in all these they just say, you know, White Ranger, Red Ranger, Blue Ranger. Just not use their actual names, because the names didn't matter. All you cared about was that whichever one you like. Ah, yes, these are the putties. The Putty Patrol! So they're the standard Power Ranger fodder, essentially. I'm not sure where exactly we warped back in time, because I thought we were fighting Ivan Ooze, but I guess now we're back to fighting Rita and Zed again. Back with their putties, but I mean, it's potato. I mean, they're as brief a time that we actually... Ah, yeah, that's right. They had like mini bosses in this one. But as brief a time as we had Ivan Ooze, that's about how much of an impact he made on the series. I mean, it was just a movie and that was it. He was never mentioned again. And just made no real change other than they got new clothes. And I think they got different Zords, if I remember right. Ah, there we go. That's as close to a weapon as we actually get in this game. Just a barrel sitting in the middle of nowhere that we can throw once. Okay, there's another one there, but I'm pretty sure we actually can't even get to use that. Because... no? I guess... yeah. Completely useless. All of these are like almost one-hit kills, so I don't know what the point of giving that does is. Oh, this game. This show. This show was... it's kind of like the old Japanese Godzilla movies in that... you know it's bad. Everyone at the time knew it was bad, but... It just had that... it did have heart. I mean, you know, as much as it was just cheap, and the actors in it are terrible. I mean, the child actors are not good. But it at least kind of tried. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how you describe it. I'm not even talking nostalgia. Like I said, even at the time, there was just no. It's kind of like these games. I mean, it's your bare bones fighter, your bare bones, you know, beat 'em up. If I remember right, the boss here, right after this, is all three of those mini bosses grown, but you fight them all at the same time, if I recall correctly. So, kind of neat. I mean, there's... yeah. I still do remember, you know, lots of good times with friends who also watched the show, or maybe some who even didn't and just humored me by playing, you know, games about people they didn't know or care about, or about a show they didn't know or care about. Bring this with me. I seem to remember saying that when I was young, too. I'm like, oh, this did a lot more. Oh, we get to fight them here as well. Oh, yeah, and then it goes away. Because, of course it did. I get it. All these are the different body parts of one boss or something. I don't know. The Power Rangers had weird, you know, monsters. Because it was always the monsters that were, you know, from Japan. That's why they'd always look a little different when they actually got to fighting them with the Zords and stuff like that. I was going to say the Zord part may have been original to the show, but I would doubt it. I mean, pretty much nothing in the show is original other than the, you know, in-betweeny bits where they talked as actual people. Basically when they didn't have the helmets on and no one cared. Or at least none of the kids did. But the new upcoming Power Rangers movie, which actually it's probably out already. I don't know. It looks too much like Chronicle. They just they have magic powers, and even without the suits, they're super powerful, so... I don't know. What is this supposed to be? Ring? I actually have no idea what that was supposed to be. All the rest said, like, ear or hair, I think one of them said. So I don't know why one was ring. Yeah, and then Zed, his thing was pretty much the same as the other one. As Rita, you just makes him grow. I think he, like, threw down his staff or something. We're gonna skip the... Yeah, and so these are the... Let's see, these are the... There's, like, different stages that they're going through here, because the Tiger Zord was... I think this was actually before the pterodactyl, or not pterodactyl, Falcon Zord that we had just before, so... Or maybe it was... I want to say that the Green Ranger, like, or some monster actually, like, froze their Zords or something, so they had to get new ones at some point. And then in the movie, they got different ones yet, so they changed Zords a lot so that they could sell more toys. So, you know, just kind of one of those things. You can't fault them for it. I mean, they did make a lot of shows that kept the kids entertained, so... And sold a lot of toys, of course. I mean, it's not much different than what Nintendo did. They just, you know, obviously Nintendo made a lot better games. But I was talking more like amiibos and stuff like that. You know, why do you need an amiibo? I don't know, but I have some. I mean, I'm not faulting anyone for them, just... It just doesn't... Why? And I've even used them as video game things, and nah. They don't do that much. They're, you know, kind of just little figurine things that don't really serve a purpose, but they're kind of nice to look at, I guess. If you like figurines. I probably have way too many of them. I'm glad they give you a bunch of credits on this one, because it's not necessarily hard, but you eventually just lose health. But yeah, anyhow, that's Power Rangers and Power Rangers the movie. Like I said, I'm still not really sure why you jump all over time and... Yeah, the people get kidnapped. This is from, like, all over the show and the movie. And I don't understand why. But as Power Rangers and Power Rangers the movie, they were pretty... They matched the show that they were, you know, made from, so... Is that gonna affect anyone that goes sees the movie that just came out? Probably not. I mean, it's a very different feel to it than the old ones. Well, am I going to see it? Probably not. Maybe when it comes on Netflix, but I'm okay with not ever seeing it too, so... Well, thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.